Anything?
When ghost hunting, not everything is as it seems.
There's three just gone. My God.
Oh my God.
Hold on.
That could be dust, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's disturbing.
She's shut away. She's shut away. Nobody's got stuff.
Occasionally, it's inexplicable. One thing's for sure. Expect the unexpected when the ghost detectives are on the case. What better way to keep prying eyes away from crime than to distract attention with stories of sorcery, ghosts, and devil worship? Cornwall is full of such tales, where shipwreckers and smugglers use chilling stories to camouflage their deadly trade. Pengersick Castle near Penzance is typical. Here, 800 years ago, Henry Pengersick spun a tale of alchemy and devil worship to disguise his smuggling activities in the secret tunnels to the castle. But despite his fake phantoms and phony ghouls, Pengersick remains one of Britain's most haunted places. It's as if fantasy has become fact. So it's with some trepidation that the ghost detectives begin their search into Pengersick's past. Built in approximately 1500, Pengersick Castle was once a stronghold used to protect the Pengersick family and its treasures from marauders. Its 100-foot tower dominates the coastline and is where most of the paranormal activity is said to occur. In particular, the second-floor bedroom and its Jacobean bed have even the hardiest of ghost hunters spooked.
We've seen figures and lights of various kinds.
They've seen two women.
We saw a lady, we think she's a nursemaid, and she came out of the wall over there.
There are some very unpleasant things here. I won't say what. It's not a sort of what I call an ordinary haunting. It's probably 1 in 1,000 you come across a place quite as active as this. But it's not sort of, not all friendly.
Using high-tech filming and sensory equipment, the ghost detectives have just 4 days to prove whether or not Pengersick's ghosts exist once and for all.
I'm just going to try and put some mini-cams around the area so that we can start to get images of what might or might not be happening on the bed and in the corners of the room where there's been sightings of paranormal activity before.
And what sort of cameras are you putting in here?
Most of them are straightforward digital mini-cams, so they give us a signal back to the actual mixing desk downstairs. One of them is a black and white mini-cam that works with infrared light, so we can go in total blackout in the room and still get a lovely clear picture.
And why this room?
This room's got a tremendous amount of activity. It's been witnessed by dowsers, clairvoyants, even the people that live here. So there seems to be a lot going on in this room. There's 3 or 4 entities supposedly walking around this room. One laying on the bed, which we think we may have experienced already this evening. So it's a good room to get some activity going. So we'll see what happens. Early days.
You're not scared at all?
No. I think I'm more scared of the living than I am of the dead, to be honest. Can anyone tell me if there's a fly or something flying around up by the window?
But even as the team are setting up, they think they see something.
In front of the window, on the bed end of the window, there's something white floating around in the air up there.
There's another one. Is this the infrared? Is that the infrared? No.
Is it the moth?
I don't know.
Oh, it is again.
Yeah.
And there.
Definitely something floating in it. There's like balls.
Tape, right. Give me a tape, someone, quick.
No, they're not following you, but they were floating out the window.
The team think they're seeing floating orbs of light, which have appeared during other investigations, and which they believe could be proof of paranormal activity.
Well, this is incredible. We've only been here a couple of hours and we've already got some orbs that seems to be, well, it could be moths, I don't know, but I haven't seen the...
Can't see any moth.
No.
I've never seen anything like this on night one before. Are they now? They're still there?
Yes.
Yeah, there's one over by the window again,
Yeah.
floating upwards.
Yeah, it's gone out the window again.
It looks like there's something in this. Or is there?
Yeah, there's one right above your head going upwards.
Unfortunately, they can't be seen with the naked eye. The team has only ever recorded the orbs on infrared cameras.
Yeah, I must admit, it feels a bit odd up here. But we can't see anything visually.
Over.
Yeah, you probably will feel odd because you know what's going on around you. I would say a lot of that's in the mind because of what's going on around you.
Having said that, there is definitely something visible here, and I can't put this down to anything normal.
It's not only the haunted bedroom where the ghost detectives think ghosts are on the move.
Strangely, it's so quiet, isn't it?
It's very peaceful, isn't it?
In the basement, clairvoyants Marion Goodfellow and Paul Hanrahan feel they've made contact with one of Pengersick's lost souls.
What are you trying to say to me? She shot away. She shot away. Nobody's got to see.
Marion is upset because she believes she's in touch with the spirit of a teenage girl whose soul has yet to find eternal rest.
I know what it is. She's got a birthmark and I think she's been touched by the devil. She hasn't. Everybody can go to the light, everyone.
Marion believes she can release souls from earthly torment.
She's gone.
Yeah. I can see the column of light retreating away from behind you.
Thank God.
So she has gone with the light.
Yeah.
And you can feel her energy has now left the room.
Yeah, bless her. Great. Well done. Shall we go up to the next level?
Let's go up to the next level.
After I'd gleaned as much information as I felt I could out of these spirits, I was trying to send them on their way, send them to a happier moment in their time span, and, if you like, send them on to heaven.
As well as clairvoyance, dowsers like Anne Moore believe they can detect paranormal activity. She uses unusual dowsing rods.
Well, this is called a Hartmann rod. It does all manner of things. It will actually find ghosts. And it is actually a ley line, it's an energy line, but it was his route, it was the one he followed constantly. So it's pointing now in that direction, but he comes from, if I stand this way again, he comes from over here, he comes through that building, and then he goes in this direction. And he takes a slight detour, so I just follow this and it takes me in the direction that he wants to walk. Okay? Right, so we just walk forward, following this. So we let it take me where it wants to go. So that's the only trouble with dowsing. You go by a direct route, which sometimes means through people's gardens and various other things. So again, I'm going to take a slight detour, just so I don't step through garden. And then he basically disappears through the wall, which is here. And on the other side of here was the actual banqueting hall, the main hall of the castle. And that's where he disappears to.
This is just way
Back in the bedroom, they still think they're seeing floating orbs.
No.
Yeah, there's one just coming off the bed,
Bed,
now, heading
two,
towards
another
the
one
window.
small.
Can you see me?
Yeah, you just put your hand right by it.
Yeah, look, they're all coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
again, it's not dust. It's moving. There's three just gone. My
Oh
God.
my God.
Hold on.
That could be dust, couldn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
We may have got dust. There's a lot of them all together now.
Where, by the bed? What was going on before is definitely different. Again, we've still got stuff up in the corner heading towards the window.
Look, it's...
And they're congregating, you know, they're all sort of heading for one place. It's pretty weird.
So it stars.
Yeah.
So are the ghost detectives onto something? Join us later. If you dare.
difference to them at the moment. They're still...
The ghost detectives believe they are having their first brush with the paranormal at Pengersick Castle. They can see something floating around the bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, it's not dust. It's moving. There's 3 just gone. My God.
Oh my God.
It's absolutely amazing. They're smaller than the ones last week. They're like specks of light. But I've just popped down and had a look, and they're just dancing around.
Perhaps we can understand the ghost detective's excitement, as the room has so many stories. None so terrifying as the tale of Pengersick's ghostly hound. On dark, cold nights, a fearsome howling echoes through Pengersick's walls. Those unlucky enough to venture into the haunted bedroom risk meeting the hound from hell. For in the fireplace, the snarling jaws of a vicious dog have been witnessed on dozens of occasions. Those brave or stupid enough to stay say the experience leaves them chilled to the marrow, and with the feeling that their every move is being watched by 2 searing canine eyes.
Yeah, we've got them all over the place up here, mate.
So what are the floating orbs the ghost detectives believe they found? They decide to introduce more equipment.
There's one there.
Ross, what we're going to try and do, can we point an infrared camera up at the location of these orbs and see what we can get?
When we were running the orb test last week, it was all done on infrared, and they had a certain look to them. What I want to do is take the lighting to the same conditions we had at Bowden House and see if they look the same as the ones we saw last week.
We've got it on.
But what are they really seeing on their mini-cam? Phantoms or wishful thinking?
Spotted it.
It's shot.
Oh yeah,
Did
yeah,
a
I've just
swirl.
seen it, yeah.
There it goes, out the window again.
Oh God, yeah, look. That's not dust, man.
No, it is definitely not, because you'd have it all round here as well, wouldn't you? And it all sort of like shoots.
Yeah, there you go.
You wouldn't get a dust particle moving at that speed so quickly out, would you?
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Moving around again now.
Oh yes, they're dancing around quite happily. I don't think that's dust, mate.
There's another one just above the camera. There's one there.
This seems too good to be true.
Look, there goes one floating up.
One thing that's puzzling me, Andy, is why are we only getting them on the one camera? You've got 2 other cameras here that are on the 2 9-inch screens, one black and white, one colour, yet we don't appear to be getting any on the other 2 cameras. Can you clarify that, please? You've got 3, 4 cameras in this room, and they're not appearing on any other camera. So I think it's because this light has a beam directly in front of it. It's quite a heavy floodlight that we're picking up a lot of the dust in front of here. Because it's close to the camera, it's appearing that it's actually further away than it is, and that's causing the problem.
I hoped at first that it was orbs, obviously because of the success we had last week, but looking at it now it looks like dust to me. But then again, you can never rule out the possibility that there could be an orb in there. We just need to review the footage really and see. I mean, obviously looking at it now, they're reacting, the dust particles are reacting with people walking around in there, which wasn't actually happening before. So who knows?
Bit disappointing.
No, I'll sleep better tonight. Put it that way.
See how easy it is to get carried away?
This is last night's ghost log, and our night crew have been stating in here all the things that went off last night. One funny bit here is dog decides to scare the life out of us and walks up the stairs into the bedroom and strokes its body at the end of the bed, walks around the bedroom and sits there. Can't possibly be anything in there tonight. Just quite funny. What we've always said on paranormal investigations is animals are particularly sensitive, so if the dog's in the room, the chances are the ghosts aren't. But it's good that they've logged that down. Another thing on here as well, it's always good to rule out the obvious, and sometimes when you're on an investigation, it's very easy to get carried away with believing everything is paranormal. And they had a video that kept switching off last night every few minutes, and it seemed to them that the batteries were being drained, which is a sign of paranormal activity. What it was this particular type of cameras have a standby facility where after 4 to 5 minutes they automatically turn off to save the battery, and the only way you can avoid that is to eject the tape out if you're running your signal to a main tape player downstairs, and leave the tape out. It then runs constantly. And what they seem to have done last night is convince themselves that the battery was in fact having its power sucked by the ghosts. Sorry guys, false alarm.
The cameras have played tricks on the ghost detectives. Undeterred, they turn again to dowser Anne Moore. She believes the castle's ghosts can be found in rooms with high levels of paranormal energy that she detects with a pendulum and a chart called a biometer.
This is another of my instruments I use. This one is called a biometer. It measures energy, but what it does when you're actually doing room energy is it will actually tell you how much energy is in the room, and it does alter according to the activities in the room. Okay, so we'll go on up to the room where most of the activity goes on. Right, and we're going to take a reading with the biometer just to see what the energies are like in this room. I'll actually do it on the bed, I think. I'm using a pendulum here.
Why do you do that?
Because this is what we use with the biometer to give us the reading. When you actually learn to use a pendulum, you need to know the yes and the no. If you don't know that, then you can't use it. So you ask the pendulum, first of all, it goes into what we call search mode, and it's just going round because I haven't instructed it. Now I'm going to ask it to show me a no, and mine just goes side to side. So that's my no. So I then ask it to go back into search mode, which it does, and I ask it to show me a yes, and it goes backwards and forwards. Now, everybody's different because we all vibrate at different levels, and some people's yes and no may be clockwise, anti-clockwise, whatever. So everybody actually has their own signal. So what we do is, this is the area where we ask the first question. And the question that we ask is, show energy in this room. Now, what my pendulum is doing now is just searching. And it's picking it up. Once it's picked it up, it will actually give me a yes, hopefully, which it's doing now. And you then take it slowly along the measurement. And when it gets to the measurement that this room is actually vibrating at, well, right, almost to the end of the scale, which is almost 100,000. So that is very high. Now the measurements, it's quite technical all this, and I'm not very technically minded, I'm afraid. It's a special measurement that's been done, which I haven't actually got the paperwork on it with me, unfortunately, but it does actually explain how they work this measurement out, but it is a vibration.
Could these energy lines not be sort of magnetic lines in the earth?
Some of them are. Yeah, there's all sorts of reasons for them. In this part of the world, because we have a lot of underground mining, it does interfere with them quite a bit. So it does actually turn some of the positive ones negative. Overhead cables can do that sort of thing. All sorts of things which we actually do, which we're interfering with nature, if you like. And I see them as the veins and arteries of Mother Earth. And that's how they work, you know, just like blood vessels that we have. She has the same things, and she has the ones that flow up and the ones that flow down.
And how does this connect with spirits, with ghosts, that kind of thing?
They like the energy of the lines. Because
how do we know that?
Because we usually find them where there are energy lines, because they can pick them up very easily. Ghosts and spirits can work with electricity. We have electricity. Our aura is electricity. So they can pick those sort of things up very easily. The lines are just another kind of vibration, as everything is.
Another dowser, Anne Taylor, also believes she's a medium and can combine her skills to detect the castle spirits.
I'm fortunate that I do see things rather than feel. I can stand somewhere and immediately I know there's somebody over my shoulder, or there's somebody approaching me sometimes, or there's just somebody sitting in the same room. I just don't take any notice of it because I'm so used to it. I'm now standing in the doorway of the bedroom, entering into what I would describe as a busy room. The pendulum is starting to circle quite widely, and I feel there is quite an oppression here. There is a young girl laid on the bed. She is laid out with her hands across her chest in this manner. She has died in childbirth. She is possibly only in her early 20s. She was the young girl who lived here. She lies here quite at peace and is happy as her child is with her. But as I come around here, past the fireplace, there is a youth here. Again, he weeps. I feel he is possibly the child's father. Standing with him is the priest of the day. The priest is trying to comfort him. And in the corner, across to here, there is a monk standing by. He is a very strong character, very strong indeed. He is the oppression that I feel in here.
By day 2, the ghost detectives are convinced that the bedroom is haunted and are trying to use dowsers to detect paranormal activity. But can they actually reveal anything at all? Psychologist Dr. Christopher French is not convinced.
Now, dowsing is a very interesting topic. At one extreme, you've got dowsers who claim to be able to pick up on various kinds of paranormal energies. At the other extreme, you've got dowsers who wouldn't want to be associated with anything like that, but claim that they can actually detect electrical currents or underground water flows and so on. Now, the interesting thing is that for people who are using dowsing systems, whether it be a forked twig or a pendulum or bent rods or whatever it is, each of those systems is inherently very unstable, so a slight muscular movement will actually produce a very big effect. And when people have kind of tried to control tests of what's happening in dowsing situations and other similar situations like Ouija boards and so on, automatic writing, even though it doesn't feel to the dowser as if they are actually making the thing move, it turns out it is unconscious muscular movements that are responsible. Now you might say, well, so what? You know, the dowser is actually channeling some kind of an energy, and as long as they're able to produce the results, then that shows that dowsing works. Well, unfortunately, dowsing doesn't seem to work unless the dowser already has a good idea of where the target is, what they're supposed to be looking for.
That's what the psychologist thinks. But Ross Hemsworth has his own theory, the quartz crystal theory.
In a building like this, I think it would be good to carry out some psychometry tests with the clairvoyants to see if the building itself is holding ghosts. If we have quartz crystal in the walls, for instance, it's possible the crystal may store information and play it back. So what people are seeing here isn't in fact ghosts, it's almost like a 3D action replay of something that happened through history.
Hang on a minute. What was that?
It's possible the crystal may store information and play it back. So what people are seeing here isn't in fact ghosts, it's almost like a 3D action replay of something that happened through history.
It sounds wacky, but could there be something in the quartz crystal theory? Pengersick's ghosts appear to date from its very earliest beginnings. But the castle itself is a relatively recent building, which knocks down Ross's idea. However, Dowser Alan Neal has another theory that could build it up again.
Well, this area, it is strongly believed, is the site of the original manor house. This is the manor house that goes back to, well, the 13th century. It's thought that some of the ghosts who appear in the room known as the haunted bedroom could very well have come from here with the stonework, because when this house was finished with and the Militons built the new house down there, they would have taken any good building stone away with them from here. So it's highly likely, I think, that these things could have come with that stone. Ghosts move with things.
After days of blank screens, can the clairvoyants help trace Pengersick spirits?
We're going.
The ghost detectives are confident that the Dowser's evidence will be corroborated by the clairvoyants at the séance that night.
Who are you?
Richard.
Richard. Hello, Richard. Pleased to meet you.
But none of them are ready for this. But can they really communicate with the dead? Join us later. The ghost detectives are at Pengersick Castle in Cornwall, and the clairvoyants have decided to call a séance, a meeting where they believe they can make contact with the spirits of the dead.
Who are you?
Richard.
Richard. Hello, Richard. Pleased to meet you.
They start with a prayer.
Almighty God, wise and wondrous Spirit, allow us to bring forward the proof of survival of the human spirit. Embrace us, protect us, love and care for us, and keep each one of us in the truth and the light, tonight and always. Amen.
For the spirits or ghosts to apparently enter clairvoyant Marion Goodfellow, she must first go into a trance and is counted down by Paul Hanrahan.
3, 2, 1.
Almost immediately, Marion starts to speak.
Hello. Who are you?
Richard.
Richard. Hello, Richard. Pleased to meet you.
Richard.
But as soon as the spirit of Richard appears to leave Marion, another supposedly arrives.
No, Richard. What's your name? I am Eleanor. How old are you? I am in my mid-years. Have you a second name? I am wife of Richard.
Do you have any children, Eleanor?
Catherine is my child.
Catherine is your child. How old is Catherine?
Catherine is 8.
It seems that Marion has made contact with husband and wife Richard and Eleanor. But did they really exist?
It is the year of our Lord 1273.
Researcher Susie Miller attempts to find more information from the castle's archives. In what seems to be a remarkable connection to the séance, she discovers that a Richard did exist and was involved in one of the darkest chapters in Pengersick's history.
To have a husband, a wife and a child and a date all in one séance is amazing. Richard, we've got Richard of Pengersick, presumably murdered in 1221. And we've even got the name of the person who murdered him. That is written in history. Richard of Pengersick died 1221 and was murdered by Richard of Wick.
But psychologist Dr. Christopher French is sceptical.
We're not very good at estimating how likely coincidences are. And again, particularly if we are looking for matches between what the medium says and the historical record, both are usually very rich sources of information, then we can actually find matches. But again, it will depend particularly on the criteria we use. If we try and do the assessment under controlled scientific conditions, where we can actually say exactly what the chances are of a hit or a miss, then I'm afraid that often, much to the psychics or the medium's surprise, we find that they can't actually do what they think they can do.
So how did Richard of Pengersick die? Who were his murderers? And is he the Richard of the seance? The spirit of Eleanor, apparently speaking through clairvoyant Marion, claimed Richard was her husband in 1273. Yet the records show that Richard of Pengersick was killed in 1221. Despite this discrepancy, the ghost detectives remain convinced that they are onto something, and call upon another dowser, Ron Kirby, to try to resolve the mystery. He believes that by asking his dowsing rods specific questions, he can get exact answers.
Using the names of Richard de Pengersick, Richard of Pengersick, and Richard Pengersick, all being the same person, did they live in this area? Yeah. Eleanor Pengersick. Did Eleanor Pengersick live in this place? No. Was Eleanor Pengersick the wife of Richard Pengersick? Was Eleanor Pengersick the mistress of Richard Pengersick? Iffy. Was Eleanor Pengersick related in any way to Richard Pengersick? Yeah. All right then. Was there an incestuous relationship? Yeah. Were there any offspring of the union between Richard Pengersick and Eleanor Pengersick? Richard de Pengersick. How did he die? Did he die of natural causes? No. Was he unlawfully killed? Yeah, he was unlawfully killed. Was the killing by poisoning? No. Was he bludgeoned? No. Was he strangled? Strangled. Was there any other form used? Was it stabbing? Was his death due to stabbing and strangulation? Okay, his death was due to stabbing and strangulation. Was the perpetrator Eleanor? And she was the perpetrator. Did she do the actual killing herself? No. She was the perpetrator but never killed herself.
Ron's come up with quite a story. According to him, Eleanor was not Richard's wife, but his sister with whom he was having an incestuous relationship, and it was she and not Richard of Wick who had him murdered. One thing is certain. There are some ghost stories that crop up with persistent regularity, and none more so than the tale of Pengersick's mysterious monk. Like any self-respecting castle, the ghost of a monk is ever present. And woe betide anyone who crosses his path. He is said to be the caretaker of the castle's souls. Those who interfere with the paranormal here do so at their peril. The ghost of the monk is so powerful that he can send the minds of his victims into a numbing spin. One poor soul who incurred his wrath was a young girl. Unaware of her crime, she found herself on the roof, spinning out of control, only to lose her balance and topple over the battlements. The teenager died instantly, her body crushed to half its size. Poor girl. She's not the only one who's encountered Pengersick's monk. Dowser Alan Neal is so convinced he's real that he believes he's felt the monk's massive energy.
And the rod started to turn, and I found that I was in a spiral. This is a spiral or a vortex of energy. Well, the day I came up here, I stood there, I'd found this spot. The rods began to glow. They glowed with what seemed to be a brilliant white light. That light got brighter and brighter. The nearest comparison I can make to this is if you light a piece of magnesium with a match and you get that brilliant white glow. And as I stood here, more and more of this smoke came up. And in fact, as I looked down at my feet, and it was really coming up from the floor. And I was just too interested at the time to be frightened. But it was only when I reached the point where it felt as if every hair on my body was standing on end and I was tingling all over that I started to get a little bit afraid. And I stepped back, I lowered my rods like that, and the whole thing disappeared.
Paranormal investigators often associate sudden drops in temperature with the appearance of ghosts. With just 24 hours to go, thermometers in the bedroom show that it suddenly got awfully cold.
It's ice cold in this corner, you can feel it with your fingertips. And it's now 19.0, so it's gone down 5 degrees in the space of, well, now about 9 minutes, 10 minutes. Alan's done some dowsing in the room, and he's picked up on a spirit, or what we think is a spirit in the room. The rods have verified this. We've put the temperature gauge at the location where he says the spirit is, and it's gone down now 6 degrees in about 8 minutes.
Alan thinks he's found the explanation.
From over there, I searched for any spirit presences in the room, and I came across something here. I started to reach down, I started to feel down for that cold spot, and I went down and down and down till I got to about this level, and there it is, it's cold. It's either a dog or a cat. I almost got a feeling that this now is a cat.
Apparently not all ghosts are human. Could this be a paranormal pet, or maybe the hellhound itself?
Well, this is a digital camera. This is what we usually can pick up orbs with or photograph orbs with. So what I'm trying to do is, once he's found a cold spot or located what he believes to be a spirit or what could be a spirit, then hopefully we'll capture it on a stills picture.
As Alan appears to sense the animal spirits, Andy tries to capture them on his digital camera.
I'm getting nothing so far.
I'll look around now, yeah.
Where are you going? Can you have a look at that temperature there?
19.1.
Yeah, it's gone down again. Temperature has gone down 4 degrees now in the space of about 5 minutes. Just in that corner.
There, I think.
What did you think?
Oh, beautiful one. You're dead right.
There is something there?
Yeah, got a lovely orb here.
Good. I picked it up about there. Oh, great.
It's on the bed.
Yeah.
At the headboard.
So what have you found?
We found another orb.
Andy seems to have found something unusual. These orbs of light are invisible to the naked eye, but appear on digital photographs. But what are they?
We keep getting pictures of these small balls of light, which we refer to as orbs. Now, there's quite a few of these at Pengersick, some of which we've eliminated as being natural phenomena or digital camera phenomena. These ones here are more difficult, and if we look very closely at these, we've got one over here on the left-hand side, one slightly above it, and one on the back of your head, which is quite unusual. I mean, if we blow this up slightly, and have a look at the one on the back of your head here, we can see it's got quite a bright light to it. It's got a very, very strong aura all around it at the bottom. It's a completely different colour there at the bottom to what it is at the top. And if we actually change the image to a negative, this is quite interesting. We get an unusual effect, but it gives us a real look at what these things are, or appear to be. Now if we look here, blow it up slightly more for you, you see this yellow area at the bottom of the orb here. It makes it look like there's a vapour trail there, and the actual orb is moving upwards. And the orb itself appears to have some substance to it. It's got a perimeter, a very, very strong perimeter all the way around it. It's got a cellular type structure. Now that really rules out stuff like dust, and certainly rules out camera phenomena. There's no way we're going to get a flashback or a lens flare from the back of your head. Some of them are dust, and I would say perhaps 75-80% could be explained as dust or pollen or air particles, but there are others that can't be explained by dust or air particles or pollen, and it's those that fascinate me. The thing that I think puzzles me most of all about these is we have clairvoyants telling us where they are. Now this means one of two things: either the clairvoyants are seeing these with the naked eye and we're photographing them, or clairvoyants are particularly sensitive to dust.
The ghost detectives are baffled, so they turn to clairvoyants Marion and Paul to try to find out more about what they've caught on camera. Marion believes she has a personal contact in the spirit world and can contact him during a séance. As she slips into a trance, she appears to be visited by John, her guide. Paul asks him to explain the orbs.
Do you have a name? John. What was that? Sorry. John. Pleased to meet you, John. Paul, I'm honoured to meet you. I can feel your resonance. Maybe ask you some questions, John. John, do you know what we call the orbs? Do you know what they are?
They are the residue of human life.
Are they? Wow. Does every human who passes over live on in an orb?
And they are all around you.
Are they? So why is it we only see them sometimes? Do you know?
Because your field is contained.
Okay.
According to the clairvoyants, the ghost detectives have succeeded in catching a ghost on camera in the form of an orb. But psychologist Dr. Christopher French remains unconvinced.
I mean, the idea that suddenly ghosts don't do what they used to do. They don't kind of walk through walls and clank chains and all this kind of thing, but now they actually appear as tiny orbs of light or fluctuations in energy of various kinds and so on and so forth, in itself is interesting. If you look back in the kind of history of ghosts across the centuries, you find that the descriptions that are given vary from period to period, and they vary from culture to culture. Now, doesn't that strike you as being a little bit odd? Doesn't that tend to suggest that what we're actually seeing is the latest cultural interpretation of these kind of phenomena, rather than some kind of reflection of an eternal afterlife, which one presumes doesn't change as human centuries go by? But getting back to this idea of the way that the investigators are going about their business these days, I think that there is potentially something quite interesting there. It is possible that there may be something to the idea that electromagnetic fields do have some kind of an influence upon human beings. That is a very under-researched area.
After 5 days' intensive investigation, the search for the paranormal at Pengersick Castle has come to a close. What exactly did the ghost detectives discover? The clairvoyants and dowsers helped disclose the ghost of Richard Pengersick, said to have been brutally strangled and stabbed by his wife. And yet once they were very close. While the castle's haunted bedroom may have failed to reveal its ghostly monk or ferocious hound, it did produce one thing that puzzles me. Please, Can anyone explain this? Trick of the light? Or a lost soul trapped forever in a haunted castle?